Okay, the reason this video is coming out today, and not the movies that we're watching today, is because we're watching them today. And after watching 4 movies theatrically, there's not enough time in the night to do a decent review video. So, that's being postponed till tomorrow. So, I'll throw it out right now. It is hours before the Critics' Choice Awards on Thursday night. We already know what the Oscar nominations are. You can check out the video of our reaction. That's on there now. And our predictions will actually be up next month. So, we have watched 4 movies. The last 4 movies of 2013. Well, the last 4 movies that are regular movies. Obviously, we still are looking at The Wind Rises. That's the one that's still hanging over our head. But technically, The Wind Rises is not coming out in theaters until the end of next month. So, it's still a 2013 movie, but it's going to be in 2014 when we say it. That being said, in the last week or so, we have actually finally watched our last big theatrical movies for 2013. So, we're going to talk about them now. And to end 2013 appropriately, AJ, take it away.
Alright, we're going to start with August Osage County, which we only just started saying right recently.
Yeah.
It's basically this big ensemble family drama. From Tracy Letts, the mastermind that gave us Killer Joe and Bug.
Yes.
So, this seemed like an interesting direction to go. I don't know if he wrote those in that order, in the order they came out as movies, or if... What? It'd be funny if this was between them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, basically, we have our, I guess the, patriarch and matriarch are Sam Shepard and Meryl Streep.
Yes.
And, they got this big-ass family of recognizable celebrity faces. And,
yeah.
I have to say, this is one of those movies where I don't really know what's spoiler territory. So I'll just say that this family has a lot of problems it needs to work out, and an event brings them together.
Yeah.
And all hell breaks loose, more or less.
Pretty much.
Obviously it's based on a play. So, right there, you get a lot of complaints that the performances are too stagey. Because, let's talk about Meryl Streep for a second. I really like Meryl Streep in this, but there's some detractors. And the reason for that is because this is Meryl Streep going balls out.
Yeah, to say the least.
I mean, you've seen Meryl Streep go balls out before, like Doubt, or Julie and Julia, to an extent. To just... There's a number of them. She has so many movies where she gets to go balls out, but this is up there, for sure.
Definitely.
And honestly, she has a daughter who is Julia Roberts, obviously. She has multiple daughters, but the one we focus on the most is Julia Roberts. And she equally gets to go balls out, more so than we see from her.
I love Julia Roberts in this movie.
I mean, you can... I suppose you can kind of say she's more or less doing Aaron Brockovich again in some of her scenes. Not so much, like, the whole character, but, like, the... Aaron Brockovich's freakouts come out of this particular character. So I guess we'll go down this family tree. Streep's daughters are Roberts, Juliette Lewis, and Julianne Nicholson, I think was I think it was the 3 of them.
Yes.
I saw this movie like 2 weeks ago, so it's hard to... I'm trying to bring it all back. And we have, Meryl Streep has a sister that's Margot Martindale, who is married to Chris Cooper. Margot Martindale and Chris Cooper have a son who is Benedict Cumberbatch. And Juliette Lewis has a boyfriend that's Dermot Mulroney. And Julia Roberts is married to Ewan McGregor, and they have a daughter who is Abigail Breslin.
Yeah.
Did
You
I
just
hit,
dropped enough names there.
Did I hit the whole cast list?
I'm pretty sure you did, actually.
And they have a maid who I think might be the woman from Frozen River.
Maybe.
I can't remember for sure. But, so you have all these recognizable faces, most of them given as much scenery as possible to chew.
Yes.
And fun ensues.
Completely.
It ran for comedy at the Globes, but I really wouldn't call it a comedy.
No.
I mean, it's definitely got comedic moments, but I think it's primarily a drama.
Yes.
And of course, obviously, when you do a movie that's based on a play, chances are there's going to be a big acting centerpiece.
Mm.
And of course, being a family drama with an almost completely recognizable cast, the big centerpiece is a giant dinner table.
Oh, yeah.
That gets more and more out of control as it goes, especially since Streep's character has been prescribed to too many drugs. And each character has their own little... There's not too many characters that get the shaft. I'd say maybe Dermot Mulroney doesn't get a lot to work with.
He's a great character, though.
But everybody else kind of has their big moment at one point or another. Ewan doesn't really get a big moment either.
He doesn't get enough.
I think here, while we're talking about the cast, honestly, a lot of people have been getting singled out. There's some people who think Streep is the best in the cast. There's some people that think Roberts is the best in the cast.
Mm.
Early showings, a lot of people brought up Julianne Nicholson.
Yeah.
And somebody who had a lot of buzz going in was Margaret Martindale.
I remember seeing that.
And Chris Cooper even did the circuit a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought the standout of the cast besides Streep was Juliette Lewis.
I can see that.
Because I'm not even like that big a fan of her, but she's in a lot of good movies, but I've just never really been. Apart from California and Natural Born Killers, she doesn't really register to me, really.
Okay.
So basically, if she's in love with a serial killer, I think she does all right. She kind of has that sweet naivete, I guess.
Yeah.
But then she just kind of plays it as this oblivious. She's one of those women that is like in love with a new guy like every month. And she's under the impression she's going to get married to Dermot Mulroney now, who's kind of... He's a cool dude, but he's kind of a directionless douche.
It reminds me of Kid Rock and so much in Joe Dirt.
Yeah, he's always driving around in his douche-mobile, and he's blaring like a different song every time. At one point he pulled a Billy Madison, it was The Stroke.
That was awesome.
But there's something about Juliette Lewis's character that just kind of something drew me to her, I guess. Mm. And then of course, she has one more big scene before she exits the movie. And I just found her to be the standout apart from Streep. I don't care about how stagey it looks or how over the top she went. I think Streep is obviously the best of the cast. Mm. Because it's Streep being everything that she's been built up to be as an actress in this movie. And like I said, I'm glad she got it at the Oscars because some people were worried there. And Julia Roberts did too. There is a problem I can kind of understand. I actually thought about it a couple of times, particularly at the dinner table, as great as that scene is. Mm-hmm. Where people it was kind of like, the thing you have to do when you're adapting a play that's really hard is you have to bring some kind of cinematic quality to it. Yeah. And there are a lot of times at this movie where it does pretty much feel like they're just filming a play. Which kind of, I suppose, brings it down a little bit, kind of taints the impact a little bit.
Just a tad.
And another thing that was interesting about this movie like I said, I don't know when the actual play was written, but I'm not saying it feels dated or anything, but there are a few twists and turns in this story that I think may have been a lot more shocking and like bigger reveals a while, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, I can see that.
But there are subjects that have kind of been tackled enough lately to where I don't think they have the impact now that they probably initially did. Like when the play was first written. And I would say that it's one of those movies where not a lot. I liked the movie as a whole. Like there wasn't really a time where I was like, well, I wish this would end. This is one of those movies where I kind of felt like I kind of thought after the dinner scene happens right in the middle of the movie, which may, I mean, I know the way the story is, but I mean, you know, it had to be this way, but
yeah,
it kind of feels weird that there's still the dinner scene gets us at such a high, it gets at such a peak in the movie that it seems a little like it doesn't have much else. It doesn't have many other places to go when you think about the fact that after that dinner scene, there's still an hour left of the movie.
It's true.
So it's almost like the first half kind of peaks, and then you still have to do that second half.
I agree.
So, but there's nothing wrong with the second half. It's just, I guess it just peaked a little too early. But there's still some impactful scenes. There's a particular scene where they're sitting outside and Streep tells the daughters a story about a present that she wanted. That scene has kind of an emotional impact.
Yeah.
So, I think people who want to see this movie will get what they want out of it.
Definitely.
So, and I liked it better than I thought I would.
Same here.
So, yeah. Is there anything you want to add to it?
I love Ewan McGregor and anything he does. I think he was not used to his full capabilities in this movie. I love Dermot Mulroney's character. Oh my god. He's just such a massive toolbox. And he does it oh so well. I love the stuff with him and Abigail Breslin too. I thought that was a nice little connection as well. I like that.
Yeah, that's the problem though, is even though they all get their little individual plots, obviously the direction is in like so many of them. There's one where like, I mean, it's good to give all your characters at least a little plot.
Yeah.
Or else, you know, they're just there to be there. A couple of these plots only get like a scene because that's all there's time for.
Yeah.
Like the Mulroney Breslin one.
I like that. I thought that worked pretty well. But I wish there could have been a lot more there. I like Julia Roberts in this movie a lot, actually. She's just so... I'll honestly say, I've never seen Erin Brockovich, so I didn't know she can get to that kind of a peak.
There is a scene that a lot of people are talking about involving where Julia Roberts' character really has to stand her ground, and it's a scene involving a piece of fish.
Yeah, catfish, yeah. It was awesome.
So, yeah, she basically starts off as kind of an introvert that's just kind of letting the shit happen and just gets pissed off when nobody's around. And by the end of the movie has turned into Erin Brockovich.
Okay.
Who doesn't take shit from anybody.
This character definitely didn't. For sure.
So, yeah, I would recommend August.
Yeah, seek it out for sure. It's actually starting to go wider in theaters now. We just got it this week, so...
Yeah, its wide release was technically last week, but it's spreading more now. Our next movie is another very acclaimed movie.
Yes.
Next we're going to talk about Her. Let me talk about Spike Jonze for a second. I think Spike Jonze is amazing. Because he's got Being John Malkovich adaptation of Where the Wild Things Are. Which I love all of them. I think Adaptation's his best movie, and Being John Malkovich is brilliant, and Where the Wild Things Are is a very great underrated.
Very underrated.
Well, it's got its fan base, but I don't think its fan base is big enough.
No, not at all.
So I was actually worried if I would like this or not.
Yeah.
Even though I think so highly of his other 3 movies, because this is only his 4th movie after those 3.
That's insane.
Well, he's been involved with a lot of other movies, like as a producer or an actor or whatever. But this is it's worth mentioning that he didn't. I don't know about Where the Wild Things Are, but obviously he didn't write adaptation or Being Malkovich because Charlie Kaufman did. This is completely solo. He is the writer and director.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you'd think that would have happened before. I can't remember if he had anything to do with the script for Where the Wild Things Are or not, but I'm really surprised, by the way. Apparently this movie has a lot of attention. Like, there are a lot of people that are interested in seeing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest. I thought a movie about Joaquin Phoenix falling in love with the voice on his computer would not have an audience.
Yeah?
Apparently I'm not that, like, because that's what I figured it would be. Like, you know how generally people love to really simplify a movie as much as they can, especially if they don't like the concept.
Yeah.
I really did not expect Joaquin Phoenix Falls in Love with His Computer to get as much of a reaction as it has. But people fucking love this movie.
Yes. I'm definitely one of them.
I'm not.
I know you're not.
But I don't dislike it at all.
No, I can tell that.
I like it. I can say that I like it, yeah. But I don't, really like it or love it.
It's just kind of there.
Because here's the thing. Basically, plot. Joaquin Phoenix is this dude that, like, he's kind of like, I suppose it's somewhat like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in 500 Days of Summer, only he basically personalizes cars to people.
Yeah.
That they, and then obviously he's very lonely because he just got divorced from Rooney Mara, and they didn't have children or anything. And then he gets word about this. He sees an advertisement for this operating system that's basically a very personalized version of Siri, I guess.
Yes.
So much so that it can, it gets to know you and you can have, conversations with it. And he and this voice fall in love with each other.
Yes.
This voice that is just a computer. And a love story blooms. And it's actually not, it's one of those cases of it kind of reminded me of the beginning of Ted, where everybody was like, how are they going to explain that the whole world accepts a talking teddy bear? And Patrick Stewart's narration says, well, just like everything else, after a while, nobody just gave a shit. And you actually see, there's actually moments where you see, it kind of gets to a point where it seems having a relationship with your operating system is a normal thing in society.
To the point that people are actually seeking out other people's operating systems and dating them.
And you see, when he's out with his, and he's got it in his pocket, and he's just smiling. You see other people talking to theirs when they walk by. It's set in the future, but it doesn't give us a particular time. It just says the near future.
It reminds me of Vanilla Sky in that aspect.
Yeah, kind of. There's, okay. Talking about Phoenix, I'm really surprised that he is not getting more... He doesn't seem to be getting as much attention as the movie itself is.
And that's undeserved, because he really should be.
I mean, I don't think it's one of the best performances of the year or anything, but it just boggles my mind that the movie is getting as much attention as it is, and he isn't.
And even Johansson's getting attention too, so...
Yeah. Alright, I guess we can talk about that. Scarlett Johansson is good, obviously, even though all she has to do is give a voice performance, and she doesn't have an animated character that takes the form and puts even more life into her words. It's strictly up to her to make her words seem lifelike, because the only shots we get of her while she's talking are of his... I don't even know what that is he was carrying around. Because I don't know where her voice comes from. because there's these devices that Spike Jonze made up. Because
Yeah.
obviously we're in the near future.
They're kind of like a PDA mixed with an iPhone is what it looks like.
Yeah. Because it doesn't sound like her voice is coming from something. Her voice sounds like a voiceover. Whether it's coming from his computer or his thing he keeps in his pocket.
Mm.
Her voice sounds the same to us at all times.
Yeah. Doesn't sound digitized either.
Yeah.
It's just like
And
she's talking on the phone.
I suppose that's good because, it makes the character more clear.
Mm.
But I did find it a little weird that it wasn't like, I don't know.
And no explanation to the reason why either.
Then we have Amy Adams. I think this is probably one of her best performances in a while.
Oh, completely agreed.
But of course she was overshadowed by her own performance in American Hustle.
Yes. For both.
And Johansson in this for some reason. She's basically there as like his best friend.
Yeah.
But obviously she's married, but she clearly has a thing for him. But obviously she has a husband and he has Samantha. I guess. If that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, there are a few, depending on who you are, if you, like how much you've looked into it, there are some surprise appearances and or voices.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he's in the main credits, I didn't know that, but Chris Pratt plays the guy that he works with.
Yeah.
Who I couldn't help but feel was a little close to him. He seemed very much like...
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like that, but I mean like... He seemed to very much like Theodore in an unusual way. That could just be me. And they even had the same mustache.
Yeah.
I just watching that character, I couldn't help... I made like my own backstory for him while looking at it, and I was like, something tells me that he's one of those guys that really, really wants to be Theodore's friend really badly.
I can see that.
And they actually end up going on a double date. He's got... Yeah. You can probably imagine.
It's pretty awesome.
There's this character that, there's Olivia Wilde who goes on... He's a blind date that was set up for him. Mm-hmm. She only has the one scene.
Yep.
And we get a couple of scenes of Rooney Mara. Which she is decent. A lot of people complain that she was underused considering that she's like a blowing up actress right now. Especially after her great performance in Side Effects. Now there's a couple of memorable scenes involving voice work.
Yes.
Besides Scarlett Johansson. You may or may not have heard about a scene at the beginning before he gets the operating system. He's in this, I guess, some sort of chat room. But all he has to do is
puts an earpiece in and he's basically just chatting with the person.
And you just talk like you're on the phone.
It's awesome.
Only it's like a chat room or something. And this voice comes on, like an adult chat room is what I mean.
Yes.
Obviously.
It's a very adult chat room.
So, he goes in, and there's this familiar voice that's Kristen Wiig.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I don't know if I should say what happens or not. I'll just say this conversation doesn't go the way most people are expecting.
No, it doesn't.
Theodore himself wasn't expecting it, and we as an audience weren't expecting it.
Nope, not one bit.
And there is this character played by Spike Jonze, his voice. I thought this scene... A lot of people love this scene, apparently, from what I'm hearing. I thought this scene was very, very out of place. And I didn't quite know what the purpose of it was.
It's to show the technology in the future.
Yeah, but... Theodore's basically playing this game. This video game. And inside this video game is the character. It's like a little alien child. I mean, I know it gives us, it gives us some backstory on Theodore's feelings about things. Like, he has sympathy for this little alien child because it's lonely, kind of like he is.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like he probably doesn't have parents or anything. He's running amok and he's very foul-mouthed.
Yes. Say the
And
least.
it's used as a comedic scene. But, I don't know. I just thought it was weird and seemed extremely out of place. But like I said, most people love it and think it's, don't think it's out of place, I guess.
It's interesting.
And there's a voice cameo by Brian Cox towards the end.
Yep.
But that's...
And Bill Hader.
Who was Bill Hader?
He apparently is one of the chat room voices.
He must have been the one that was pretending.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's hilarious. Now
Chat room friend number 2. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yeah, much like when you hear about in chat rooms when like guys pose as women, since it's the voices, it's clearly a guy doing a woman's voice.
Takes you back to Closer.
Yes, exactly.
That's the best way to describe it.
With Jude Law and Clive Owen talking to each other.
That's great stuff right there.
It's very well shot.
Yeah.
And I was curious about it getting a lot of talk about its production design.
Mm.
But yeah, I didn't realize like how futuristic it was supposed to be.
Mm.
And it does have those, even though it's a kind of a, it's got kind of a emotional core.
Yeah.
There are a lot of comedic scenes, like the chat room, and then there's, at the very beginning, there's this scene where he's in an elevator, and they're showing us the technology. And like all he has to do is say, play Melancholy Song. And it's this song that's got very basic lyrics about being melancholy. Play another melancholy song.
Play different melancholy song. I really wish that was something that really existed. That'd be so awesome to have.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the script is how many ideas Spike Jonze has about this concept. Because it's just this... The main concept is this love story, but because it's set in the near future, he has all of these details going into it.
And it's never mentioned how much this new technology costs.
Yeah.
He just kind of walks into a store, next thing you know, he's got it. So, Twombly's got to be the richest guy in the world, apparently.
He's got a really nice apartment, too. We don't know what he makes.
Yeah. He's good at what he does, apparently.
There's a couple of, things where it kind of, like, there's something you probably already heard about. It's a lot more tasteful than it sounds. But, you've probably heard by now that there is a sex scene.
Yeah.
With him and Samantha.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually done in a very, I guess you'd say, almost artistic way.
It's done very well.
Yeah, it's basically, to kind of explain why it works, basically they can only use their voices, obviously, because that's literally all she has.
Yeah.
What happens is the screen actually fades out, and everything happens over a black screen. And the way this is done, all you can hear, it goes from being Joaquin Phoenix laying on a bed, talking to the voice of Scarlett Johansson. But when it fades to black and you just have Joaquin Phoenix's voice and Scarlett Johansson's voice, it makes you feel like Theodore and Samantha are in the same room.
Exactly.
So that's a very props to Spike Jonze. I said something to somebody once who loved the movie, and they kind of just shrugged me off. And I know I just can't help but notice this, and I couldn't get it out of my head.
Okay.
I know that's probably just me, and I'm probably kind of tainting the artistic integrity of the movie and everything.
Mm.
Would I be wrong to suggest that it might have been a little too obvious that I think Spike Jonze may have been really, really horny when he wrote a lot of this script. Like, remember that episode of Roseanne when the power went out and Darlene and David were upstairs drawing the comic books?
Yeah.
And David was getting horny, so he started drawing, like, really big tits on the characters.
Vaguely, yes, I do remember that.
This movie is surprisingly dirty.
Yeah.
Which I don't have a problem with.
No.
I'm just saying, between, like, the chat room scenes and the scenes with him and Samantha, their intimacy, I guess. There's this random scene where Samantha suggests the idea of an asshole being in your armpit, and then she draws a picture of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but regardless, the movie does work in many ways.
Yes.
But for me, it kind of started to lose its edge when it went. I think it's too long. This movie has a particular moment about an hour and a half in where I thought it could really bring itself to an understandable conclusion and go on. But the movie goes on for another half hour. And just when you get the feel of when you're supposed to be like really getting into their relationship and really happy watching them fall in love with each other, that it was starting to. It was that moment where you felt like a plausible solution could have happened, and everything afterwards makes it feel like it's dragging it down and taking it farther than it needs to go. That's the way I felt. Apparently nobody agrees with me, almost nobody, but that's just the way I felt, and it really... That last half hour lost me. So... But it's still, you know... The ambition is great and boundless, but I just, as the overall product finished, I thought it was just okay.
I can understand that. I completely disagree, obviously, as you know, because anybody that has seen the video by now, you know that it's my number 5 for 2013. But I just love the movie, and I really love... I'm making sure I got this right, so I don't want to screw this one up. At the very end of the movie, it's funny because we're listening to the scores, get ready for the award show tonight, and the score for her is actually over the credits, and it actually lists a special thanks to Adam Yauch, of course, who passed away from the Beastie Boys, and Murray Sendak, who was the writer of Where the Wild Things Are. So I thought that was pretty cool that Spike Jonze did that. The score... Arcade Fire is great. I love Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs as the one doing the Moon song, and that's the one nominated for the Oscar. I love the song. I think it's really like haunting and like melancholy in the right way. I'm not trying to use that as like the buzzword for the day, but I mean, I love this movie in every single way possible, and it'd be a disservice to yourself if you miss it out while it's either in a theater or catch it on Netflix down the road, if Netflix still exists by the time that this video airs. Who knows at this point?
It hasn't evolved into something greater.
Yes. So yeah, it's an incredible film that I love very much, so go watch it. And if you think you're not going to like it, give it a shot anyway, honestly. Let's talk Athens.
Our next movie is Inside Llewyn Davis, which blew my mind when I realized it's the first Coen Brothers movie we've gotten since True Grit.
Yeah.
We went 3 years without a Coen Brothers movie. That's horrible. That's torturous.
Yes, it is.
Don't ever do that again.
No! I want a Coen Brothers movie on the pike right now. Let's find out if there is one.
So, this is one they actually had lined up for a while, but it never really seemed to take off. Like, they had this listed before, like, A Serious Man, I think.
Yeah, I believe so, actually.
But then they made A Serious Man, then they made True Grit, and then there was just a gap. I wasn't sure about this. I felt like, by looking at the trailers, I felt like it was going to be more of a minor Coen's movie, like A Serious Man. In my opinion, anyway.
But A Serious Man still ran for picture.
Yeah. But this is like a perfect fit into their filmography.
This movie is awesome.
It fits very nicely in there.
Very much so.
And I'm so glad that my concern there caused my expectations to be exceeded. So
that's good.
Yes, and it's always good to be exceeded. Have your expectations of a Coen Brothers movie exceeded. That's very rewarding. Basically, we have... I gotta be totally honest with you, there's not really a plot at all.
No.
Like, not at all. It is Llewyn Davis, who is this loser of a musician played by Oscar Isaac, perfectly.
Yes.
I think Oscar Isaac is really gonna...
He'll blow up
he's
eventually.
Gonna be something. He's always been there. It's just a matter of he's just kind of had these roles that are kind of overshadowed by his movie. But here he gets to be the main focus, so... And I think this will definitely help propel him.
For sure. And very deservingly so.
And I'd like to think the Coen Brothers themselves will bring him back for their movies, too.
I'm sure it's a guarantee.
And he's basically just kind of goes through like he had a partner that he used to make records with that died.
Yep.
He jumped off the George Washington Bridge. Who does that?
Off the Brooklyn Bridge, traditionally.
So now he's doing everything he can to be a solo artist.
Yeah. And failing rather miserably.
Yeah, the thing is he's obviously poor and has to live from apartment to apartment with his friends.
Correct.
Not even his friends, just the people that are nice enough to house him for a night.
Yeah, that's actually what he says, too.
And, because he's getting all these gigs, but they're with a group, and the only way he can, like, get commission is if it's a solo record. So, therein lies the issue. So, basically that's it. That's the whole movie. He basically goes from place to place, with this cat, by the way.
Yeah, the Gorfines cat.
Yeah. And, eventually it's not their cat. And then the movie just goes until it stops.
Yep.
There's no conclusion, there's no catharsis. After a while, the movie just stops.
We guys try to get a big break in Chicago, and we see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah, the meetup with Edmure Abraham.
Yep.
And of course, since it's a Coen Brothers movie, this journey is going to involve a lot of amazing supporting characters.
Completely.
No matter how big or small their part. They may be there for one scene, but since they're a Coen Brothers character, you know that one scene is going to be amazing for them, and you will remember that character.
Oh, yeah.
Start with this guy, this army guy that lives, or that's bunking up with Carey Mulligan and Justin Timberlake.
Yes.
Who are his married friends that he's trying to stay the night with, but this guy's already there. I forget what his name was now.
He's Troy Nelson.
Yeah. Who is also a musician.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is Coen Brothers all day long. From his voice to the way he is, to the fact that he drinks the milk from his bowl. It's just all there.
You can currently see him in Kinky Boots on Broadway.
Which Chiwetel was in the movie version.
Yeah, there you go.
He's probably playing Joel Edgerton's part, if I had to guess. I have no idea. And there's this. He's got one of those recurring lines about something about Fort Dix. What was it?
He basically says that he doesn't want to just stay there. If you don't want me to stay there, I'll just go off. I'll ship off to Fort Dix. And he keeps saying it over and over again too. It's like, it's okay. I'll just ship off to Fort Dix. Don't worry about me.
So
he's very nice too.
Yeah. And then we have this subplot with Carey Mulligan, who is Jean.
Yes.
Who may or may not be carrying Llewyn's child. It could be his, or it could be Timberlake's, but she doesn't know.
Or it could be someone else, actually. We find out later on in the movie.
But regardless, and that's basically her plot.
Carrie's awesome in this.
And it doesn't help that Llewyn is in love with her, apparently.
Well, they just don't have good luck when they're in they're in some sort of relationship with each other in movies.
Yeah, sometimes he gets shot during a robbery.
Yep.
Sometimes that's Drive, by the way. I'm not spoiling Llewyn Davis for you.
Yeah, somehow Llewyn decides he's so poor he wants to rob a bank and gets shot when it's done.
It could happen.
It's the Coen Brothers, yeah, it definitely could.
So, yeah, the movie begins with him getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah. I didn't understand the reference until I'm reading this right now, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. This is interesting.
So, another interesting duo he runs into is this guy named Roland Turner, who has crutches and most of the time spends his time sleeping in the back of a car, and he's apparently addicted to heroin. This is John Goodman.
Very Foghorn Leghorn in this movie.
With a bowl cut, too.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And this character is John Goodman and the Coens all over. Like,
this is what you dreamed of this collaboration to be.
There is no combination like John Goodman and the Coen brothers.
Exactly.
There just isn't. You just have to... some of him is in the trailer, but you just have to watch this character. And Garrett Hedlund is his driver.
Johnny Five.
Who has, like, 2 lines. It was Garrett Hedlund's job to just smoke in this movie and drive.
And talk really weirdly.
It's really funny to note that John Goodman and Garrett Hedlund played father and son in Death Sentence.
Yep.
Garrett Hedlund kind of reminded me to go into Coen Brothers territory.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Hedlund was giving me a huge Peter Stormare and Fargo vibe.
Yeah, I got that.
The way he was smoking and driving and just looking ahead and using, like, one-wording people when they asked him questions. That's a geyser of conversation, my friend. There's this character, Al Cody. There's this great segment in the movie where he gets a gig at a recording session.
Yep.
With, I forget what they were calling themselves.
The John Glenn Singers.
Yeah. It's Al Cody, who is Adam Driver from Girls, and Timberlake. And they sing this song called Please Mr. Kennedy.
If you haven't heard it yet, just go to YouTube and just type that in and just enjoy the awesomeness.
And this character, Al Cody, is wonderful.
Yes.
He does this, like, he's... I don't know how to describe it, but he's this... After they do the song, they decide he needs a place to stay, obviously. And Al Cody lives across the hall from Gene and Jim.
Yep.
And by the way, it's this hallway that, like, comes to this point practically, and the doors are, like, this far apart.
It's like walking around the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal.
And there's this great delivery from Driver where it's like, he says, Llewyn says, hey man, do you think I could stay with you? And he's like, yeah, I guess, but, you know, my apartment's a little small. And he's like, well, you know, is it, you know, a nice place? It's dumb. But he stays there anyway. And now Cody's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
Which is really interesting to see Adam Driver play a nice guy, because that's like anything but his girl's character. So,
Timberlake.
Yeah, Timberlake actually doesn't get to do a lot. He's basically there
No.
to sing a couple of songs. But, you know, it's Justin Timberlake singing a couple of songs. That's
good enough for me.
Yeah. That's pretty much all you need him for, and he'll bring it. And speaking of that, the soundtrack has a lot of attention.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is great.
Completely.
Like, it's one of those ones where normally these movies that are about musicians give you that one song to really remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think for most people it's Please Mr. Kennedy or Fairly Well.
Yeah, fairly well. I've had him stuck in my head all day.
Pretty much all the songs at one point or another will get stuck in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great for a soundtrack.
It's like me listening to the Mighty Wind soundtrack all over again.
Personally, one of my favorite songs was the one that Timberlake and Carey Mulligan do.
Mm-hmm.
500 Miles is the name of it.
Yep.
That they sing. That's actually a funny setup because Troy Nelson is on the stage and he's performing. And Llewyn and Jim and Gene are in the audience. And they're like, this is to show how full of himself Llewyn is. He says, now there is a very special person in the audience here tonight, and I was thinking maybe they'd come up on stage with me and maybe play a song or two. And Llewyn's just in the audience going, can't, didn't bring my guitar.
Didn't bring my guitar, yeah.
And he's talking about Jim and Jane.
And Carrie just stares at him in scolding manner the whole time when she's singing the song.
The way it's shot is getting a lot of attention too.
Yeah.
Because it is. And there's this shot everybody loves where Llewyn's on the subway with the cat, and we get this shot of the cat looking out the window, but we see it from all we see is the reflection of the cat in the window, and we see all the shit going by. That's an interesting shot.
Definitely.
And there's this, speaking of the cat, there's this shot that I really loved, and I don't know how many people saw it. We were in a packed theater, like packed from wall to wall.
It was nice.
Nobody really seemed to laugh at it, so I felt like the only person that caught it. It's the scene where they're first in Garrett Hedlund's car, and they're sitting in the passenger seat. It's him and the cat. And there's this shot where they're both... Garrett Hedlund says something, and we get this shot of Llewyn and the cat staring at him.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a really long time, and then Llewyn and the cat look ahead at the same time.
That's awesome.
I don't know how that was accomplished, or if it was just dumb luck. The Coens actually have really good luck with dumb luck. Yeah. Like the very last shot of Barton Fink where the bird dives into the water. That wasn't supposed to happen. That might have just been one of those. There's references to a couple, because it's set in like 61, I think. Somewhere around there. There's a couple of references, like I won't say exactly what it is, but there's a crucial appearance of what could very well be Bob Dylan. And there is, obviously, Troy Nelson is shipping off into the Army, and they're talking about Private
Presley. He name drops Elvis by name.
Yeah. Yeah, because he says, "Have you met Elvis?" And then he's very formal, so he calls him Private Presley.
No, I have not met Private Presley. I was like, really?
So yeah, I think most people seem to love this movie. I heard there were complaints from a few critics and Academy members apparently that didn't like it because they thought Llewyn was too much of an insufferable loser to feel for.
No.
But the thing is, what I thought of it was, it's not, I don't think we're supposed to feel sorry for Llewyn. I think we're supposed to laugh at him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he's just constantly in misfortune.
Yeah.
I think it's the Coen brothers' dry sense of humor. I don't think we're supposed to sympathize for Llewyn at all. I think we're supposed to realize he's a douche and basically laugh at the absurd shit he gets himself into with his bad luck.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I think the movie definitely works.
Completely.
And I would seek it out. So, and of course, it's the Coen brothers, so I feel really fucking stupid for having doubted it. So,
I was trying to tell you that back in the day, but you wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah. And yeah, I can't praise Oscar Isaac enough.
No
he was just
lie.
perfect.
I love the whole cast in this movie.
Alright, our last movie is Nebraska. The highly anticipated by people who are,
Yep.
awards watchers or Payne fans. This is Alexander Payne's movie that took a long time to get made, apparently.
Really?
Bruce Dern was on Kimmel talking about how they had basically made the deal to make the movie. He had sent Bruce Dern the script and he said, "I'm not asking you to say yes or no right now, I just want you to read it." And Bruce Dern fell in love with the script and said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Then Payne made Sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dern kept waiting. Then Payne made The Descendants. And then finally, Nebraska is here. And it's a black and white movie that is, Will Forte plays the son of this father, and Dern basically gets one of those things in the mail that says he won $1 million.
The Publishers Clearinghouse, basically.
And he believes it because basically he's reached the end of his life and he doesn't have anything to show for his life.
Nope.
So, and there's always things that he's wanted to do, but his life is just at this dead end, at pretty much more or less getting close to the end of his life. So he feels like this is the one thing he has to live for, is winning this $1 million.
Yeah.
This is the one thing he has. So he's hell-bent on getting to Nebraska.
Going from Billings, Montana to Nebraska. No matter how it takes.
To accept this award of $1 million. And when everyone around him tells him it's not real, he just chooses not to believe it.
Yeah.
That's it. Most people think it's because he's gone senile, but I think he's there.
Yeah, he's definitely there.
I mean, there are moments where he's not there, where he's out of it. But for the most part, I think he's there and is aware of how people, in what kind of condition people think he's in.
Oh yeah, he's fully aware of what's going on around him.
Yeah, there's this great scene that really shows that, where he was kind of stumbling around drunk at night, and then when he came back, the next morning he realizes that his false teeth fell out somewhere. So they're going and they're looking for them.
They're walking the railroad tracks trying to find the teeth.
And Forte finds them, and he says, "Here they are, let's get going." And he puts the teeth in, and he's like, "These aren't my teeth." And then Forte, fights that. He's like, "Of course they're your teeth." And then Dern actually convincingly says, "These aren't my teeth." So Forte goes to keep looking. Of course they're my teeth. Don't be a moron. That kind of tells you that I think he's aware of how people think he is and what he actually is.
Woody likes to play the part.
Yeah, basically. But no, he is sincerely hell-bent on this $1 million, though,
yes.
Regardless.
He'll even walk if he had. That's the first scene of the movie. He's walking to Nebraska.
Like I said, I don't think that's senility, though. I think that's actually... He just needs something.
He wants to cling to something before he he's no longer with us.
Because he and his wife clearly aren't happy.
No, God, no.
Because there's even a scene where he talks about he's having drinks with Will Forte, his son, and he's saying like, so did you and Mom want to have kids? And he's like, no, it's just I like to screw, and she was Catholic, and it just happened. And then basically they go. The story kind of comes to more of a narrative when they have to stay at some relative's house on the way there.
Yeah.
When Fortes finally said, you know what, fuck it,
I'll drive you.
I'll give it to him. I'll just give him this. So, once they get to this relative's house, they learn about the $1 million, even though they were trying to keep it under wraps. Naturally, the family also thinks it's a real $1 million, and basically wants a piece of it.
Turns into the family from Greedy, basically.
And then, of course, once they try to say, no, it's fake, he's just being senile, it's not a real $1 million, the family thinks they're just trying to keep it from them and don't believe it.
Yep.
And then bring in Forte's brother, who is Bob Odenkirk.
Yes.
And then hilarity ensues, more or less. I'd say it's primarily a comedy.
Yeah.
Even though it has those heavy dramatic moments. As we pointed out, I don't know if it's because we had just watched a Coen Brothers movie or not, but the characters in this movie feel very Coen Brothers-esque.
Yeah, it feels like one continuous movie. It just happens to be in black and white.
The quirky side characters from down that way.
Yeah.
And you also have June Squibb, who is... I think her love for this movie is a little blown out of proportion, but she is that scene-stealing character. I didn't really care much for the character, but she's seen as that scene-stealing character. Oh yeah, I wanted to bring this up, talking about Payne's filmography. This brings back memories of a disturbing scene, but at the beginning of the movie we learned that Will Forte's character has broken up with his, I think it was just a girlfriend, it wasn't a wife.
It was a girlfriend.
Okay.
Her name was Noelle.
Yeah, she comes to the house to drop off some things to him. Because she shows up with bags, and he's like, you're moving back in. Oh no, you just forgot this shit.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the waitress from Sideways that went home with Thomas Hayden Church. The MC Gainey scene. I'm pretty sure that was her.
Might be, let's find out.
It'd be a weird coincidence if it wasn't, since Sideways is a Payne movie. Talking about the black and white. Because obviously when a movie...
Yep, that's it.
That is her.
It is her from Sideways.
Obviously when a movie is in black and white nowadays, the first question is, why is it in black and white? I think what it is, it's not like a gimmicky thing, like say Francis Ha.
Hey, no.
But it's kind of like, it's an artist, to give Bon credit, he did give a reason why. Okay, Payne's reasoning, I wouldn't say this is reasoning, but I've just heard this in theory, and it's...
Makes sense.
I buy it.
Okay.
Supposedly the reason it's in black and white is you can't really... In that area the movie takes place in, where this journey is happening, there's a certain drabness. And basically, if you were to shoot that drabness in color, that's all it would be. But when you embrace the drabness and take this setting and put it in black and white, it gives it a whole new quality.
I'll buy that.
Yeah.
It's believable.
So it actually, by making the drabness look more drab, it actually gives it the life that it needs in a very artistic and weird way.
Alright.
So that's more or less...
You gonna talk about Keach at all?
The performances in general.
Okay.
Basically with Stacy Keach, we get a villain.
Yeah.
Who is the guy that's basically, one of the main guys that's going after the money.
He owned a garage with Woody a long time ago and he wants his money back.
Yeah. Even though he has an air compressor that he took from Woody 40 years ago and never gave back. Woody still says, it's just borrowed, but, after 40 years, it's been stolen.
It's now stolen, yes.
And he's got a good slimy quality to him.
Yeah.
As far as the performances are concerned, because that is basically what's the main attraction of the movie seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't overly taken by the performances.
Okay.
But I'm thinking it might be one of those movies where the performances are like all subtleties, and you can't just watch the movie once and say, I totally understand that performance and what the actor was doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to take that as that. But as of now, the performances didn't really...
Even Dern?
I suppose Dern is the perfect casting choice to pull off that thing I was talking about, where it's... You can't really tell if when he's being senile and when he's playing the part for the people around him. So, yeah, I can't really find the words to praise his performance per se, but I can say he was the perfect choice.
What about Forte?
I don't know, he was just we've seen that son character before. The one that's basically has to, normally the cliche is the son has a busy life, the son or daughter has a busy life, and then they have to start taking care of the senile parent, and it intrudes. But the thing about David, I think his name was, his life is going nowhere. He just broke up, he works at some music store. And that's Woody's argument to go to Nebraska is, you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
But, Forte is fine. He's not bad. He's not boring.
No.
He's just, the part is what it is.
Yeah.
And Odenkirk is always entertaining.
Yes.
We have, one of the cousins was Buzz from Home Alone. I think Cole was the one he was playing. I think he was the slightly bigger guy. You can't recognize him anymore. His voice is the same, but you have to really look at him to realize that it's Buzz. You can still see in his eyes too. I could just see him making a Buzz quip because they do. The cousins are douchebags. There's this running joke where they say they're making fun of his car, and then they ask him how long it took to drive here, and they're basically making fun of him for how slow he got there. And then the joke comes back when Odenkirk shows up. And Forte says, hey, how long did it take you to drive here? So, it's a very dry movie where the moments of humor are like that, where it's not laugh out loud funny or anything, but it's a comedy.
In this particular area, I do not think it would find an audience.
Yeah. And I'd also
that's just saying where we are.
I'd also like to point out, as concerning the black and white, the movie has a really good poster.
Yeah.
Because it's just the black and it's Durham, but then if you look at the bottom, the font is vintage movie poster, and it's really good, cool looking. So that's pretty much Nebraska in a nutshell.
All right. Would you recommend it?
This depends on who you are. There's a lot of people that say, I've seen a lot of critics say they know people or they themselves have a father or a grandfather that's very much like Woody.
Okay.
So it's very relatable.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends on the person. I don't know if I can fully outright recommend it or not.
No, I'm the same way. I liked it for what it was, but it's nothing outstanding. I'm sure anything on this video is going to be a lot better than anything we're going to be reviewing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, coming tomorrow, probably night, if I had to guess, given the fact that it's going to be a late day anyway. We've got, oh god, it's going to be crazy. Tomorrow we have Ride Along, we have Jack Ryan, we have Devil's Due, and we have The Nut Job. All that will be watched officially today, and tomorrow it'll be reviewed. So, and then of course we got the Screen Actors Guild Awards tomorrow too. So, big weekend, and then we get a nice little a month break until the BAFTAs. So, AJ, any parting words for this video?
I think that's all.